I want to welcome another guest now to speak on the shutdown, Eric Lisann. He is a former U.S. federal prosecutor and also joining us from Washington, D.C. Thanks so much for being here.
My pleasure.
Now, this isn't that different from a deal that the Democrats put forth, I guess, weeks ago, where they said, let's just open the government temporarily and while we negotiate this. And Trump said no then. So why is he capitulating now?
Well, he's taking an absolute pounding in the polls because the public holds him and the Republicans more accountable for this. And part of that is the reason that you said there was a prior agreement over 35 days ago, which both houses of the legislature had passed, the House and the Senate, including the Senate Republicans, with almost no dissenting votes, which Trump had said he would agree to. And then at the last minute, because of pressure from the far right, certain media figures, they called him out on it and said, hey, you promised you would get this wall. And he'd also promised that Mexico would pay for it. But the whole thing is a fiction. He then announced he would shut down the government, and there have been very widespread ramifications because of this. And I think now the president is taking stock of the thing that matters to him most, which is the political support. Even among his base, the support is eroding. He's down below 40% in the polls now. And the Republican senators, several of whom are going to be up for re-election in 2020, will have to face the voters. And there have been some amazing things here that can be used against them, even in red, previously safe districts. So that's making people nervous for the first time. And there may be reason to believe that in 3 weeks, there will be a deal to keep the government open.
We heard him in the announcement praising the federal workers who have been either furloughed or working without pay for the last 35 days, saying that they didn't complain, that they were even encouraging him to continue. But does this leave him in an even worse negotiating spot than he was before this shutdown began? And have you seen any reaction from that far-right base, the Ann Coulters of the world, that sort of encouraged him to go into this shutdown in the first place?
Right. Well, so several questions there. First, the far-right antagonists of his base will always push for this wall, which is a fiction. It wouldn't be built for at least 1 decade, if not more, at a far higher cost, and would be completely useless as to its functionality. So that's a fantasy land. The president indulges frequently in fantasies of this type and in statements that simply aren't true. He is absolutely in a worse position than he was before, because it's been demonstrated through the unity of the Democrats, through votes on the Democrats, and even the Senate votes yesterday, that he is losing support among the entire country. Nobody believes the government should be shut down for this, frankly, ludicrous notion of an ineffectual wall, except for the Ann Coulters of the world that he listens to. But he's not in a good negotiating position. He's caused tremendous hardship, not only among these 800,000 government workers, but there's tremendous ripple effects throughout the economy. And we're seeing today, for example, a very visible example in terms of air safety. People are warning, whether it's air traffic controllers or other stakeholders in the aviation system, that this is an untenable situation. They're already shutting down LaGuardia Airport and things like this. It will get worse every single day. The government is involved in all kinds of public safety measures, whether it's food inspections, disease control, border control, ironically, the Coast Guard, the federal police here, the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Many, many things are being impacted, and it is not tenable to keep the government shut down no matter what the president is saying.
Eric, if you could stay with us, because there is another story I want to discuss with you in just a minute, and that's that a longtime ally of President Trump was arrested on Friday. Roger Stone, a self-proclaimed king of political tricks, has been charged with several crimes as part of Robert Mueller's Russia investigation. He says he's innocent and will defeat the charges in court. Catherine Viette brings us the details.
Another indictment and arrest for the Mueller investigation. After being taken into custody by FBI agents, Roger Stone has been released on bail. A longtime friend and ally of President Donald Trump, Stone's accused of lying, witness tampering, and obstruction of justice. The charges are related to emails of Democratic Party officials allegedly hacked by Russian agents. WikiLeaks released the hacked information during the 2016 presidential election campaign. Last month, Roger Stone declared he had nothing to hide.
I answered all these questions before the House Intelligence Committee for 4 hours behind closed doors, and I stand by every word of that testimony.
But according to the indictment, Stone lied in his testimony to the House Intelligence Committee about his contacts with WikiLeaks. The document described in detail numerous emails and text messages in which he discussed Organization 1, believed to be WikiLeaks, and the hacked emails, as well as conversations with senior Trump campaign officials about the timing of future releases. Prosecutors say Stone's role shows coordination between the Trump campaign and WikiLeaks, with an informal member of Trump's inner circle facing charges directly related to Russian election meddling. The White House sought to distance the president from the proceedings.
What I do know is that this has nothing to do with the president, has nothing to do with the White House.
With Stone's indictment, the special counsel investigation has now charged 34 people and garnered 6 guilty pleas by Trump associates and advisors, including former campaign chairman Paul Manafort and former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn.
For more on what Stone's arrest means for the White House and the Russia investigation, let's bring Eric Lisann back into the program. Eric, I want to read you a passage from the Stone indictment. It says he was contacted by senior Trump campaign officials to inquire about future releases of stolen information by WikiLeaks. In your opinion, what does this translate to in terms of potential legal trouble for the Trump campaign?
Well, it certainly sounds ominous, doesn't it? It was a very tightly run campaign at the top, not tightly run in terms of their actual operations, but tightly run in the handful of people that had actual control. So it sounds like it could be the president himself who is named here, or if not him, it could be one of only a very few other people that's being alluded to, possibly his son, possibly his son-in-law, Jared Kushner. It could possibly be somebody like Steve Bannon, maybe Paul Manafort also. We already know he had very deep ties, but this seems to be more along the lines of Kushner, Trump Jr., or Bannon, or the president himself. Other than those people, you have very few others who are in a position of seniority, maybe Kellyanne Conway, somebody like that. But this is striking right at the heart of the White House. And if this was any other administration, and even if 2 years ago we'd said we were at this point with these kinds of indictments coming forth, you would say there's no way the president would want to stay on under these conditions. But yet here we are, and there's some uncertainty as to what the ultimate result would be. But it is definitely putting in peril the pendency of the Trump presidency.
Former U.S. federal prosecutor Eric Lisann, thanks so much for your analysis on both of these big stories from today.